Hi, I'm Stephanie Chen.
I'm Sebastian Brunemeier. We're in the longevity biotech field, and we're going to be chatting about the coolest trends in longevity biotech and frontier biology.
Hope you enjoy. Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of Diary of a VC. Today, we have the pleasure of joining Sebastian Brunemeier, a biotech investor from Long Game Ventures based in London.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us, what's radical about your approach?
Sure. We invest in therapeutics that have the potential to add at least 10 years of healthy lifespan.
Okay,
So
I like that.
most drugs today, they help if you have a specific disease, but they don't slow the pace of aging. They don't make you more robust. They don't do human enhancement.
So what do they do?
Well, they correct a lot of the bad accumulated sins of our lives, bad diet and lifestyle, genetic dispositions. But yeah, I mean, most drugs, they work. They bind to a protein in a cell and they make the protein work usually less well.
I see.
And that sometimes helps for diseases, but generally these drugs have side effects. And one of the sort of dirty little secrets of the pharmaceutical world is most drugs, most medicines, if you took them for life, they would shorten your life.
Oh my
Right.
God.
Unless you have a particular disease, like take statin drugs, for example.
Okay.
Statins, they probably help a little bit if you have cardiovascular disease risk or many diabetes drugs, even GLP-1s, for example. They're good for us because they're correcting an imbalance that exists because of our bad diet and lifestyle, modernity, all the caloric excess, etc. But if we were metabolically perfectly healthy or hunter-gatherer type diet and lifestyle, whatever that ends up being, they would probably be bad for us because they're tweaking the system in a way that sort of compensates for the sin. But if the system were working perfectly to begin with, it would make the system work worse. So this is true of most drugs. If you take them for life, they cause side effects. They increase the risk of other diseases. So
that is what radical is not. What
Exactly.
is then radical?
yeah, so
Just a few specific examples as well.
Sure. Yeah. So pharma mostly just palliates symptoms of disease, oh, yeah, you have some kind of pain, joint pain, osteoarthritis.
Right.
You take painkillers.
So short-term alleviation rather than root cause solution.
Bingo.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking at the root cause, which in most disease is aging itself.
Yeah.
Right? So especially in the West, aging is the number one driver for pretty much all of the major killers: cardiovascular, cancer, neurodegeneration, etc. It's
That's
aging.
a really interesting way of looking at healthcare, the state of healthcare today.
Yeah. And it's exciting because for thousands of years, humanity has quested after lifespan interventions, right? Like one of the first texts, the Epic of Gilgamesh, I think it was Samaria, the king, was looking for a longevity elixir, and he went swimming in the ocean to find it. And he died. Just kidding, swimming for it. And just, it's kind of like the Chinese emperors, drinking the mercury, thinking it would extend their lifespan. So people have been looking for slowing the aging process and rejuvenation, turning back the clock forever. But it's only been in the last, I'd say, half century that the science has gotten to a point where it's not science fiction, it's science fact.
Wow.
We can slow the aging process across species, yeast, worms, flies, fish, mice, and likely humans by, in mice, we can get up to about 50% lifespan extension. So
what you're implying is that we can indeed live forever at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, if Aubrey de Grey talks about this, right?
Yeah.
So he talks about one of the leaders of the longevity biotech field talks about longevity escape velocity,
Yes.
LEV. So the basic concept is right now, we as a population, humanity gains about 1/4 of a year per year of extended lifespan. In many places that's stopped. But if we could get to 1 year or more extended lifespan per year that passes, suddenly our lifespan growth is outpacing our aging rate, and that's longevity escape velocity. And in principle, you could live forever that way. I actually think what's going to happen is there will be like step changes,
Right.
punctuated equilibrium. So there will be breakthroughs. Like the GLP-1s were a breakthrough for weight loss, and then it opened the door to pharma spending many tens of
Totally.
billions on weight loss drugs suddenly, or muscle preservation drugs. We're going to have breakthroughs in longevity where it's like, oh wow, we just got an extra 5 years with everybody taking a new version of rapamycin, right, without the side effects, which are in the pipeline, or a new gene therapy that preserves muscle mass with age, or autophagy in the brain that clears out all of the accumulated garbage that causes brain aging. So
Incredible.
it's going to be these step changes. I don't know if it's going to be a gradual process.
But overall, the picture is that, yes, as long as we live for the next 10 to 20 years, we may have a chance of outliving our ancestors.
Yeah, the longer the better. Yeah, like Ray Kurzweil talks about that too. Like, just try to stay alive in good health for as long as you can. And Brian Johnson talks about this too. Don't die. I would have called it stay alive, because don't die is a little too prescriptive.
Morbid.
Yeah, it's morbid. It's morbid, and it's also like it's a little privileged. It's like, okay, this person is 80 years old and they have a disease, and you're like, don't die, like, why would you die? It's like,
I actually saw a recent post by him clarifying that don't die is really the intention to stay alive, the willingness to live, which in a sense, it's the same message, but just because you spend it another way, all of a sudden it just sounds so much more appealing and positive.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100% behind the don't die movement.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Brian Johnson, etc. But my critique would be, once you have dialed in, you have optimized your diet and lifestyle, and you're doing everything right, whether it looks like Brian Johnson or whoever else, you probably max out at 10% lifespan extension. Why? Because when we do everything perfect in the lab animals, it maxes out in terms of diet and lifestyle changes, like hardcore caloric restriction.
Yeah.
Maxes out 10, maybe 20%. And that's with really extreme conditions where they're really hangry, they're calorically deprived, they're not happy.
Right.
And no one's going to go that far. So,
and that's the best you can do is 10% increase on your lifespan.
With just diet and lifestyle interventions in mice.
Okay.
That's approximately the best that's been achieved without significant side effects. However, what I'm interested in, and our fund is investing in, and Longevity Biotech, or Long Bio investors and founders are focused on, are what's coming in the pipeline over the next 20 years that are the radical solutions. So gene therapy, cell therapy, embryo selection.
Yes.
Even crazy sci-fi stuff like cloning a copy of yourself without a brain so that you have a backup set of organs. Or maybe you need some life-saving medication. You can test it on your backup body that is basically you.
This is intriguing.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of...
I would love for you to dive into, choose any of the above that you just mentioned. Just help us dive into it. I mean, it sounds like science fiction to me, but as you said, it's becoming reality. Totally.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff we've seen in biotech and pharma over the last 20 years was science fiction. Gene therapies we're seeing. There are cases of patients with rare genetic diseases who, they're young kids, they're born with these genetic mutations that cause terrible suffering, like sickle cell anemia is one example. This drug was approved recently where you take out the bone marrow stem cells from patients with sickle cell. You add in a gene, genetically fix the hematopoietic stem cells in a dish, and then you put them back in the bloodstream and they go to the bone marrow and they create functioning red blood cells again.
Right. Wow.
Right. So this is potentially a cure for that disease. And about 20% of the total healthcare burden is rare genetic diseases. And so in principle, we could cure a lot of those with gene therapies or genetic engineering. But most disease is still caused by aging. And so there isn't a straightforward solution just fixing a broken gene.
Right.
Aging is caused by thousands of genes working together and failing to do their job over time, basically. So
is it true that what we see today as the aging symptoms actually is a manifestation of accumulation of different reasons, factors over the past decade?
Yeah, it's God punishing us for our sins, mostly. Just kidding.
Okay, that makes sense.
Um, yeah, so, diet and lifestyle, everybody has a genetically sort of predetermined range for lifespan. So we know supercentenarians are people who are super lucky. They were born with a handful of genes. Yeah, yeah, superior genes. Yeah, the most pure superior genes. And and we know what a lot of those genes are. And FOXO3 is an example, SIR2 and 6. And a lot of them have to do with DNA repair, with metabolism, like resisting obesity, cardiovascular disease, ApoE is a big one. So we know what a lot of those genes are. So we could actually sort of copy paste those good genes into the rest of us.
Why aren't we doing that?
We will. The main reason we're not doing that much gene therapy for aging is a technical engineering problem, which is basically that delivering genes to the whole body is hard. We use viral vectors today, harmless viruses or mostly harmless viruses, to deliver the DNA to enough cells in the body to fix them or enhance them. But,
ideally, then what is the solution?
yeah, the final solution is better gene delivery methods. So we've invested in a couple companies doing this. One I'll tell you about. Oisin Bio, OISIN, is one of our favorite portfolio companies. We've invested in over a dozen of these of the current fund and the prior fund, over 30 of these companies. But this is one of our favorites. CEO is Matt Schultz. And basically, it is a non-viral vector technology. So you can deliver genes or proteins or whatever you want to the whole body without toxic side effects of the viral vectors that are commonly used today.
Interesting.
And so one of their investors invested after us is AbbVie Ventures. AbbVie, a $100 billion plus pharma, is interested in Oisin's delivery technology because the sort of Trojan horse of longevity might be big booties, a bum lift, basically, which is this gene therapy can be used to deliver follistatin, which is a gene that enhances muscle.
Oh, wow.
You can deliver that systemically, but it works better if you deliver it locally.
It's like a Brazilian butt lift.
Pretty much, yes. You could do that. If you inject it in the bum, it enhances muscle locally, right? Without having to work out, or at least not as much.
Wow.
And you can do that for the other tissues, and you do it for the whole body, and that's really important for sarcopenia and aging. We lose muscle mass. So that's one application of their gene therapy technology. AbbVie is super interested in that. Another is targeted fat ablation. So a lot of people realize, okay, diet and lifestyle is really good, but there's this stubborn fat that I can't get rid of wherever. And this gene therapy you can deliver locally, and it melts the fat off.
Whoa.
You might have heard of Kybella. It's like supposed to be injected into the like mandible area.
For double chin.
Double chins, but it's used off label for other stuff. This company was developed by Kythera, was acquired for $2 billion by AbbVie years ago, and the founder was actually Ned David, who's a longevity founder now. He founded Unity Biotech, a longevity company, analytics company that was public. And problem with Kythera is it causes local inflammation.
Oof.
And you have to inject a lot. And the reason it caused that inflammation is it's basically bile salts, bile acids, like your digestive gallbladder holds bile to digest fat. It emulsifies fat, breaks fat into smaller particles. Okay. For digestion, so it lyses, it ruptures all those fat cells. And that causes a lot of stress locally and swelling and pain. Whereas the Oisin platform, it delivers a signal for the cells to do apoptosis, which is very orderly programmed cell death, it's called.
See.
So they just sort of shrivel up very quietly and peacefully.
Right, less disruptive.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So you could use it for larger areas of the body. And
sounds safer. Sounds like a more long-lasting results.
Yeah, and they've dosed it in pigs, and the pigs were surprisingly pretty skinny, actually. I saw the data. The pigs were not fat, and I'm like, how are you doing it? Like, you're working with pigs, like, aren't they going to be fat? But anyway, so it was basically subcutaneous fat, and they were able to ablate that fat.
Wow.
So yeah, it's working in the pigs, and humans and pigs are very similar, as we know, right? It is often said by cannibals that humans taste like pork, long pork, right? So this is,
You've tried?
yeah, I mean, I can't admit one way or the other. I've traveled, and you never know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, never know what's in there.
Well, we can only hope for the best. So let's talk about gene therapy. Have you tried gene therapy on yourself? And if you were to today, what would you do?
Sure. It's still a little too early for me to try on myself. There are a couple companies like One and Prospera that is offering follistatin gene therapy. It's still early. They haven't published data, so it's not clear that it's actually working, their delivery method. But there are a bunch of other companies, including another we invested in called Remedium Bio in Boston that Eli Lilly is collaborating with, the big pharma, to do something similar to basically produce, it's an injection and you produce whatever protein you want. So you can produce the, God sent GLP-1s, you can produce follistatin, whatever protein you want, antibodies. They got a grant from the Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, to basically cure HIV with broadly neutralizing HIV antibodies. So there's some people who basically don't get HIV even though they're exposed to it because they produce these magic antibodies that neutralize it. And so if you could just produce those, it wouldn't be like a vaccine.
Yeah.
It would just be more like a monoclonal antibody like they developed in COVID. So you could use the technology for that. So gene therapy is going to be really exciting to rewrite the code of life, totally changes the rules of medicine. Cell therapy is also going to be really cool. So everyone has heard of stem cell therapy.
Sure.
They're usually talking about mesenchymal stem cells. Mesenchymal stem cells are talked about a lot. They are the most widely used stem cell type. They can be found in your adipose. They can be found in your bone marrow. And people use them for local injection, like in the joints, to repair injuries. But the most interesting thing, I think, is MSCs extend lifespan in various species. And they were just FDA approved. A company called Mesoblast got them approved in the US for graft versus host disease. When you get a bone marrow transplant, sometimes that new person's immune system attacks your body.
Yeah.
So you have to shut that off. It's like an autoimmune disease,
right.
But really bad because it can kill you right away.
Yes.
And so MSCs were approved for that.
Really?
And
how does it work?
The MSCs, it's a little bit of a mystery. There's so much research on this, but the MSCs, they usually don't stick around and engraft in the tissue. They circulate for a couple days, a couple weeks, secreting beneficial factors, exosomes, and various proteins that are anti-inflammatory, pro-regenerative. And that stuff, that secret sauce, can actually be sucked out of the medium when you're growing these cells. You can take it out of the liquid they're growing in, purify those components, and then use that as a therapy. And you can freeze dry it and ship it, which is better than trying to transport cells around.
Totally.
And so one of the companies we invested in previously called Immunis, it's in California. They're in the clinic for basically these immune stem cells. They take the secreted factors, the secretome, and they inject those, and it preserves muscle mass and boosts immune function. And so they're in the clinic in patients with unilateral knee surgery because you're sitting there idle in the hospital and you lose a ton of muscle mass.
I know.
So that's one of the indications. But that's the coolest thing about these longevity interventions. Longevity interventions don't just work for one specific disease like cancer or heart disease.
Right.
They work for many things. And they also do human enhancement. So better muscle mass, better cognitive function, maybe just better mood, better communion with the aliens, whatever it is.
So funny.
You're after.
Yeah.
So
that's great. How accessible is this right now, and how do you see that changing going forward?
We need to make sure that this is only available to the rich for as long as possible, because if the peasants get a hold of it, this technology, we won't be able to control them as easily, right? And
Sebastian.
So
You're hilarious.
Yeah. Let's see.
No, seriously.
Oh, yeah. I was totally joking. I was totally joking about that. Yeah, everyone should have them. Yeah, so they don't need to be expensive. Part of the reason why certain drugs are expensive is because there's a limited patient population, right? There are only so many people with this particular rare genetic disease, so you have to charge $1 million a piece. Only so many people with that specific rare type of cancer
Yeah.
or whatever. But with these mass market longevity drugs, every 7 billion person on Earth
Right.
is a potential patient
That's
or
right.
user. And so you don't have to charge that much. There are limits on manufacturing costs, but that's about it.
Yeah. I guess the hurdle is for FDA approval, because you're approving for something that's mass market, it could potentially take longer and has a more stringent series of conditions and tests that you have to test. Yeah.
It's an important point. So if you're developing a drug for otherwise healthy people, got to be super safe.
Yeah.
So we focus a lot on safety in the therapeutics we invest in more than other VCs. So one of the examples of this working in practice, potentially the first longevity drug at large scale use.
I want to hear about that. What is it?
GLP-1s.
My God, okay.
Our favorite.
Not just for weight loss, longevity in general.
Yeah, like Ozempic, GLP-1s, Mounjaro.
Is it approved for longevity in general, or?
No, it's used off-label for that. People microdose, but they're kind of amazing because they're working across many different diseases. You know, maybe brain aging, preventing cancer, obviously diabetes. And so...
Explain that for me, because I think most people, at least our audience, would be thinking that it is a weight loss focused drug.
Sure.
At least that's what's marketed.
For sure. So the best thing you can do for longevity is fasting, caloric restriction and fasting. We've known this for 100 years. Clive McKay at Yale did this research. You calorically restrict mice by up to a third, and they live a third longer. So GLP-1 drugs, these new weight loss peptides, and the other drugs that are in the pipeline, like they're pill versions of GLP-1s coming out soon.
Yeah.
A company called Metsera was acquired for $10 billion by Pfizer recently for this work. And many others in the pipeline.
Personally, I'm a little bit cautious about that because the female body just works. It just works differently, right? And we are going through different hormone cycles at any given point of the month. So during the follicular phase, fasting is fine, usually. However, once you start ovulating, once you hit luteal phase, you're actually not supposed to do any sort of excessive fasting. So is that taken into consideration? Because even when a lot of the studies, this is what I also struggle with, right? As a female in the longevity space, a lot of the data that we currently have clinically, some male mice or male population.
That's true. Yeah.
Because then you don't have to control for the hormonal cycle, the differences. It's just another variation that's not study friendly.
It's true.
How do we then account for all of these nuances?
Yeah, for sure. Good point. So NIH and FDA are increasingly requiring female subjects, whether they're mice or humans. But I have to chastise you in bringing up this idea of gender or sex because it's 2025. Gender doesn't exist. Race doesn't exist.
True.
You know. So.
I mean, do you test on they?
They, thems. Yes. Every clinical trial subject has to be a they, them. Yeah, exactly.
It's true. Well, okay. Yeah, because personally, right, I tried to follow some sort of a gentle fasting schedule during the first half of my cycle, and then second half kind of eat normally. It's a bit frustrating because personally I would have loved to just do something a little more extreme and get the benefits of longevity. Agreed.
I mean, I can't do more than like 2 days fasting too because my adrenaline goes up too much and I can't sleep. What I do is time restricted eating, so I basically eat a late lunch, early dinner.
Okay.
That seems to work for me, but yeah, everyone's different.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like what's important is really don't do self-administered intensive fasting. Rather, if you're going to do that, speak to a medical professional, and also always try to track real time what is happening with your body and adjust that accordingly.
for sure. Yeah. If you want to be a pussy about it, yeah. Then talk to a doctor. But the real biohackers, we don't fuck with doctors. We don't fuck with doctors at all.
True.
Yeah.
So if you were to pick one gene therapy to be performed on yourself today, what would it be?
Obviously, Brazilian booty lift.
Yeah, I can
Because
see
I need that. I need that one. Yeah, I was going to go to Brazil and everything, but this is safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Well, I think what's going to be a really cool gene therapy eventually will be ApoE4. So one of the biggest risk factors for heart disease, which is the leading cause of death by far, and also Alzheimer's, is this ApoE gene. And there are people who have ApoE22, 2 copies of the bad version. They are much greater risk. I think it's like 4 times greater risk of Alzheimer's and cardiovascular disease. It's really bad. So you can basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this. And maybe you only need to deliver the gene to the liver, and the liver produces that protein and it circulates. If we had to deliver the gene to the brain, that would be really difficult.
Right.
So that could be a huge game changer. There are a lot of these like CRISPR gene therapies. There's a PCSK9 gene therapy in development. Cool ones would be for intelligence. So this comes to one of my favorite topics, which is embryo selection. We can talk about genius cloning next. So embryo selection, when you do IVF, you usually get, let's say you get 10 eggs out, fertilized eggs. Currently, I mean, you have to pick one, right, to start with. Currently, they look at it under a microscope and they kind of say, yeah, that one's okay. Like, go with that one. You know, what's your lucky number? It's 7. Like, go with number 7. That's cool, right?
Yeah, not very promising.
Not very rigorous process. But one of the companies we've invested in that's been on CBS News the other day has had support from Elon Musk, from Ayla, from, you know, all kinds of interesting people. From the Slate Star Codex guy, I'm forgetting, one of the biggest bloggers in San Francisco, is called Herasight, HERASIGHT, at like heritability. And they do embryo selection. It's the most rigorous polygenic scores. So you look at many different genes rather than just one.
Okay.
So you take the eggs, you sequence them, pull a couple cells off, sequence them, and then you look at 3 billion letters of the genome. And you calculate a composite score about how all of these genes interact for any given trait. So, for example, let's say type 1 diabetes runs in your family.
Right.
You want to reduce the risk that your kid's going to get type 1.
Yeah.
Although, good thing with type 1, there are cell therapies that have been approved, that are almost approved, that cure people of type 1.
But not type 2.
No.
Interesting.
Type 1, your pancreas is missing these cells called beta cells, islet cells that produce insulin. And so you can actually put those back and it cures type 1. But anyway, let's say your family has some horrible disease. You want to reduce the polygenic risk of that, but it's not one mutation that causes it. It's not like Tay-Sachs disease or something that we really can identify, or Huntington's. It's a combination of genes that causes it. It's not one. And so that's polygenic scoring. And you can do that not just for disease risk, which will be huge. You can composite diseases for longevity. You can also do it for traits like intelligence, IQ.
No way.
That's the one people are really interested in, is intelligence.
Okay.
That's the most spicy one.
Totally.
Right? Because IQ is the factor, the single personality trait that most deterministically sets out your life course, right?
Exactly.
It's the most predictive. Other personality traits, the big 5 personality traits, for example, openness, conscientiousness, are much less predictive than
what about
just IQ.
EQ?
Yeah, hard to measure. And it does seem to correlate with IQ, which goes against our sort of stereotype, right? Of the like, whatever. So
cool. Wow.
So,
exciting.
embryo selection is going to be the #1 public health revolution of our lifetimes.
I mean, literally from the source, you're correcting the course.
Exactly.
Okay.
So with Herasight's technology, given 10 embryos, you can more or less get a 10 IQ point spread between the least intelligent and most intelligent baby. And you can also select for other characteristics, whatever you're interested in. So it's like you've heard of designer bags, that you can have designer babies, right? Or super babies eventually.
Yeah.
You can do stuff like iterated embryo selection.
Yeah.
Nick Bostrom and colleagues at Oxford have published a paper on this, how many selection steps in a petri dish you need to repeatedly do to get tens or many more IQ points out, or whatever trait. And then the next stage of that is IVG, in vitro gametogenesis. So you take skin cells, you turn it into thousands of eggs in a dish.
That's interesting.
We're a couple years away from that, but it's in the works.
Yeah, because IVF so I personally don't have an experience, I haven't had an experience with it, so I can't directly speak to it. But just from all of my female friends, they've always given pretty negative feedback on what they experienced, how they felt, how their bodies really reacted to that process. Pretty invasive. They've always told me, if you can, don't do it and just do it naturally. So it's really promising to hear that IVG is coming up in the next years. And literally any skin tissue would do.
Yeah, I mean, they can be derived from different tissues. It's maybe 5 to 10 years away. But the cool thing about it is, not only does it obviate the need for all the invasive suckiness of IVF, but you can get thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of eggs. And now, now you have huge statistical power.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe the baby you would have before would be, 5 extra IQ points.
You could only do a few iterations, whereas this with IVG and the combination with Heracite together, they can literally create super babies.
Yeah, like the healthiest, happiest, smartest, whatever baby that your genome is capable of producing, you and your partner's genome. Like, you think of the platonic form, like, what is the best possible person that I can produce? Now that's statistically tractable,
Yeah. That's a game changer, because I mean, I've been dreading IVF. So it sounds like if we can delay, and if I really trust that this will become a reality in the next 5 to 10 years, right? I really don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, there are not huge scientific barriers to making this work.
Okay.
It's been done in other species.
Okay.
So
it's
yeah,
promising to me.
I think it's
bet on that.
On the way. Yeah, it's coming, and there's so much demand for it. Like, people really want this.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is genetic editing. So what we talked about thus far is just selection, selecting what's already there in your genomes, the best possible combinatorics. But you can go a step further and use gene editing tools like CRISPR to actually change the genome that doesn't maybe naturally occur in your genome,
right,
to maybe you want the kid to have, blue eyes or whatever, or just be super ultra smart or super ultra healthy. And we're going to be there within 20 years, I would say.
Wow.
I think it will be available to do genetic engineering. It's already been done in humans. Yeah, Zheng Kui He is a professor in China. He did that, engineered one gene, and originally the Chinese government was like, wow, this is great, what a scientific breakthrough. But then they were like, oh, actually, like, the world said we're not ready for this, and you go to jail. So they sent him to jail. Now he's out and he's back in the lab. But
what was he? How long ago was this?
I don't know, 5+ years ago. It was a while ago.
So the world wasn't ready for this.
No, we've actually Zheng Kui He, I think I'm pronouncing correctly. We got into a little discussion on Twitter, he and I. Yeah, I was surprised.
I'd love to see that.
Because he was talking about
from the jail cell.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't Diddy.
It's me.
Yeah, wasn't SBF or Diddy, posting from jail, or Skrelly. But no, and he was talking about geniuses, cloning geniuses, or no, he was talking about genius IQ. And I said, like, what about cloning human geniuses?
Oh.
Would you ever consider that? And his response was just no, capital letters, no, which is weird. Because if you're gonna edit someone, there's a lot more risk in editing an embryo because you might edit the wrong place.
Right.
You might cause an error where it shouldn't be there. Whereas cloning, you already know that genome is fine. So cloning is actually less of a ethical challenge for the future person.
I see.
And there's a book about this by Professor Jonathan Anomaly, Creating Future People. You can download it for free online.
Fascinating.
We've had him speak. He's one of the co-founders of Harasite. We've had him speak. He was just in CBS and Chris Williamson, etc. He's coming to our event in Abu Dhabi, December 10th at the Cleveland Clinic in Abu Dhabi. He's going to be speaking about embryo selection for sure. And so anyway, that's the future. That's very low-hanging fruit because if you can increase IQ of a country by 5 points in a generation, that's huge. That's like the difference between United States and Singapore or something like that, or Finland or Japan, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But the next step is cloning geniuses, and this is my most original, I think, interesting idea, which is the most important national security matter of our lifetimes may become genius cloning, not AGI, not advanced AI, because I am betting that AGI, even the best AI, is not going to be capable of the creative leaps, the sort of schizo breakthroughs that an Einstein would. Like, how did Einstein come up with the theory of relativity? When he was in Basel, I think it was Basel, or maybe, no, it was Bern, Switzerland, as a patent clerk, he was looking at this clock.
Yeah.
And he was envisioning himself riding on a ray of light as the clock sort of struck its next time. And he imagined how, for this ray of light traveling at the speed of light, the fastest speed limit in the universe, the clock would have stopped, basically. Because if you're traveling so fast, time in where the clock is has paused. So that's relativity. Everything is relative. And so
Totally.
a crazy, what he called Gedanken experiment, a thought experiment like that.
Yeah.
AGI can't do it. AGI doesn't have that level of creativity.
However, they may arrive at the same answer through a different path that is not known as creativity to them.
Yeah, they may be able to crack original unsolved problems in really complex fields. We have yet to see that. And let's just assume it's 50-50 odds.
Right.
Within 30 years, let's say it's 50-50 odds that AGI will be able to be the next Einstein or von Neumann or Tesla or Newton.
So the other side of the coin is where genius cloning comes in.
Yeah, I think it's much less than 50% odds AGI will be capable of Einstein level, but let's say it's 50-50. We need a backup plan if they don't, right?
True.
So, and China, a lot of great things about China. China, we love China. Tremendous country, beautiful country. We love them. Great dragons. We love the dragons. The Chinese government is very technocratic and efficient. And they surely know the importance of geniuses in technological advancement. There are over 1 billion, and so they have more to begin with.
Numbers game.
So why wouldn't they just start cloning their top absolute geniuses that are alive today? And there's really no ethical reason not to do that as long as you're treating the resulting person well, because a clone is nothing other than a ladder-born twin, right? Like if we cloned you right now, and we should have many more of you in the world.
Oh, thank you. It's too sweet.
Then there's no ethical problem with that. You're basically just have a twin sister who's younger than you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thought, whether or not I would want a twin sister who behaves exactly like me.
For sure. I mean, she'd be newborn, right? Like there's an age difference.
I see.
There are all kinds of questions. Like if you made 1,000 clones of yourself, you could argue that, okay, my economic novelty, my value in the economy is less. There's more supply of me, right? You could argue that, but you don't have to worry about that for Einstein geniuses, right?
So because it's also the same, so genetics aside, currently, I mean, lab-born babies, that's already a possibility, right?
Yeah.
So this is almost no different. You're just using a existing copy of the genes with predictability
Yeah.
because you've seen how it's manifested over however many years.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think cloning per se carries any additional ethical weight than having twins by accident, or
Okay.
not a lot of people know this, but if you have a fertilized embryo in IVF and it's at, I don't know, the 100 cell stage and you split it in half, that can create twins, right? So if you want twins, identical twins, you can make them today, right? But the same age. Anyway, so the CCP, the Chinese government, is almost definitely working on cloning geniuses.
How do we know?
Well, there are a couple like lines of triangulation. First of all, they have invested a lot in primate cloning research. 3 countries have cloned primates: German, American, Chinese, different species of primates. They have a strong interest in cognitive genomics. So BGI, Beijing Genomics Institute, the largest sequencing organization in the world, has had a group working on the genomics of IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, just through the grapevine, it's very likely that the kind of stuff they're interested in, they're going to be interested in this. For example, one of the companies on our radar is working on human cloning, increasing the efficiency of human cloning for backup bodies without a cortex, right? This could solve the organ shortage problem. You can clone monkeys for medical research without any ethical problem. They're not suffering because they're not conscious. They don't have a cortex.
Oh God, wow.
And the crazy thing is, a couple months ago, there was this hot mic moment where Putin and Xi were visiting with each other. It was adorable. They were, riding around together, whatever, seeing all the missiles. Oh, these are great missiles. Oh, you have such big missiles. We love those missiles, tremendous missiles, almost as big as ours in America. Pointy missiles. A lot of people say we have the biggest, most beautiful missiles. Anyway, so they were together, Xi Jinping and Putin, and maybe it wasn't a hot mic. Maybe they wanted to like put this out there in the world. They're saying, yeah, in the longevity biotech field, they're saying, soon we'll be potentially immortal because we'll have backup bodies and we'll be able to transplant or maybe transplant our consciousness. Like, didn't have a very firm like grasp on the science, but like they were aware of the concept.
Yes, sure.
So I'm pretty sure that if they're not already cloning geniuses in China, they will do so soon. And then, like the Cold War with this missile gap, there's going to be a genius baby gap. And if they have 1,000 von Neumanns, 1,000, top, smartest Manhattan Project level scientists, that country will take over the world.
Wow.
Even if it's a middling country, like the UK, let's say, or Spain, where we are now.
However, it does take time, right, for a super baby to grow into a superhuman.
You nailed it. This is the exact problem, and this is why I think it hasn't been heavily invested in and pursued in the past. You have a 20-year lead time, right? Even if you give the von Neumann clone army the best education, nutrition, everything is optimized. And you add in some stochastic environment, you give them some adversity or whatever, like Elon Musk style, like you whisper in their ear, you're not good enough, you need to prove yourself or whatever.
There's so many environmental factors that could change the course of somebody's life. Wouldn't it be almost smarter to, for example, through gene therapy, one injection, all of a sudden we all have Sebastian's IQ?
That'd be great. Well, I wouldn't wish that on the population, but the economy would stop immediately. We would just all be watching, TikTok reels. But oh wait, we are. That is what we're doing.
I think that's what actually happened.
That's what happened. Yeah, I think people are, well, there's evidence that the human population is getting dumber because less intelligent people have more kids. There's a great documentary about this called Idiocracy. You can see it's hilarious. Yes, eventually that'd be great for those who are already born. But we just don't know how to do that because there are thousands of genes that control IQ.
Yeah.
And so we'd have to edit thousands of genes.
Of course.
And also, once the brain is wired, it's not clear that just changing the blueprint would fix it.
Right.
So maybe too late for us to get much smarter. Maybe we can get a little smarter. We're looking at it.
I guess it's also a temporary generation fix limited to your generation, right? Because it's not necessarily saying that when you have babies, they're going to preserve that specific enhancement in the genes.
Yes.
Unless you go through, once again, one of those selection processes. So in the end, you still have to think about from a population level, considering generations after generations of human evolution, how do we make a smarter world?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. So you hit on a very important point. And maybe you've taken a biology course. The adult gene therapy, it's not heritable. So if you engineer, your heart cells, that's not going to be passed on to your kids.
Right.
You have to engineer what's called the germline, the reproductive cells. And there are prohibitions against that today because the CRISPR engineering technology is not accurate enough to do that with low enough risk, but it will be eventually.
Yeah.
So anyway, finishing up on the genius cloning, there will be a serious national security race to get clone geniuses first at scale. Because even a 2-year advantage where they have their von Neumann is 20 and ours is 18, and theirs has been working for 4 years on their advanced weapons and energy systems or whatever, is a huge advantage. And it compounds over time. So yeah, I mean, it's a crazy idea, but what not a lot of people realize is all of the scientific pieces are in place or nearly in place to do efficient human cloning.
Wow.
We are aware of 3 companies working on this. One is out of Harvard, prominent lab there, 2 in the Bay Area. And then probably secret government programs. So I think it is an inevitability that we will start cloning our absolute geniuses. And in a world of AI where basically the AI is taking on more and more of the jobs.
Yeah, sure.
Like, let's say average AI is 115 IQ, so it's more productive than everybody, most of the population less than 115. And that just inches up every year.
Yeah.
So eventually, every normie will be obsolete. But the top 1% super creative geniuses will always be useful in a world of AI. So
totally.
Anyway.
That makes sense. Let me just dive into the ethics and the philosophy for a second. If I were to imagine myself as one of the cloned super genius babies, I was brought into this world for the sole reason of benefiting the country and the technological advancement. Now, that's not a choice I made, right? It was predetermined that I came into this world for a very specific purpose. How would I feel? I don't know. And that's up for debate. And would they even get to question that? That's also, it's dependent on the environment that they are conditioned growing up in.
100%.
So, I mean, yeah, there are just so many layers of complexities. I feel what makes being human beautiful is actually, I think a lot about, purpose, impact, and our unique quirks and strengths versus weaknesses. This is what makes us human. What we're talking about just now almost feel like it's not that different than creating an AGI.
Yeah, a little. I mean, okay, so the CCP may try to corral these geniuses and control them and remove their agency.
And force them to, not necessarily the CCP, right? Just if it is a program by a specific country, I can see that being the case where they are locked up in a laboratory, going through very specific programs growing up, and at one point just fully dedicating their lives to science, which is beautiful, but it's also not that different than modern slavery, is it?
Yes. So we can get the benefits of genius cloning without the slavery. It's like some kind of product. It's like, new Cheetos brand without the slavery. We took the slavery out, or like De Beers diamonds. That's probably more accurate. It's like, yeah, lab-grown diamonds without the slavery this time.
Yeah.
So in the West, thankfully, inshallah, knock on wood, we still have constitutions, we have individual rights and protections against chattel slavery. The Soviet Union, they didn't. I was speaking to a Russian friend of mine, very smart lady, who pointed out, I forgot what it's called, it was like sharushka or something it was called, I think, which are, I think under Stalin, they took their top scientists and they sent them to these really nice prisons.
Nice.
Like really comfortable, I guess. Give them whatever they want, but you can't fucking leave. And, like their head of the cosmology program, the rocket program, which beat the Americans, by the way, to space, was stuck in one of these sharushkas, one of these really nice, 5-star prisons. So you could definitely see communist regimes being tempted to do that. I don't think you get the best out of people when they're confined in that way. And it wouldn't happen in the West. But all you really need is the people to be in your country. And you need enough of them that, maybe they don't all go into physics. Like Einstein, if you clone him 1,000 times, you have the law of large numbers on your favor.
True.
But maybe half the time he would have just become like
artists,
a great artist or a violinist. He loved violin, right?
Awesome. Okay, yeah, given that type of freedom of choice, I see it being really beneficial
for sure
to the society.
But we would also provide them with the best possible education environment,
of course,
and variety of environments. The challenge is like who would raise them, right? Like you'd need them to be adopted. But I think in a world of declining fertility, people would be interested in raising a genius kid. Like it's like, oh, you want to raise like Terence Tao clone? He's like one of the greatest mathematicians currently alive, or Ed Witten, the physicist. Like it's a family that happens to be physicists, and they're like, we get to raise, we get to see the like cognitive development of an Ed Witten type character, an Einstein type character. Hell yeah, that's fascinating. So I think people would do that.
If there isn't already a sci-fi movie about this, I would love to pitch to Hollywood 100%. That we make one.
1,000%. We could make one ourselves. With AI, we can do it all. But
great.
I will be played by George Clooney, obviously.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And personally, I can't decide if Margot Robbie or Mila Kunis.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great.
Ways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
So,
great. Okay.
So that's genius cloning.
Let's talk about something closer to life, right?
Yeah.
I would love to talk about peptides.
Yes.
We talked about GLP-1s earlier. Now, can we touch on some other peptides that may be beneficial for people to just learn about and hear about?
Yes, but first, come close. Let me let you in on a little secret, okay? Peptides. They don't exist. Peptides, they're a liberal hoax. There's nothing in there. It's like the cerveza sickness vaccine. It's just sugar, water, and poison, believe me.
Really?
Peptides, they don't exist. Just kidding. Peptides are great. Yeah, but we love peptides. We love peptides. They're tremendous. Give me all the peptides. I don't care which one they are.
I mean, let's debunk peptides.
Sure.
In general.
Okay, so like a lot of
limitations, and are there?
For sure. I mean, okay, so there are, I don't know, many dozens of commonly used peptides, hundreds of peptides out there that have been studied. We're actually looking at investing in a cool company now that has a peptide called epitalon, which is derived from the pineal gland or the pituitary gland that was studied in Russia. This researcher named Kavinson tested them in humans and primates, extended lifespan, improved sleep, all kinds of incredible benefits. But it never made it into the West. So those are, on the research side, some cool peptides.
What do they do?
It's the molecular biology isn't really that well known, but it kind of just like improves everything. It seems to entrain the circadian rhythm. But what most peptides people are taking are sort of is like manufactured in China or India. They're kind of sketchy, like they're sold for research purposes only. So like maybe you get a doctor to prescribe or recommend it, but none of these are government approved. The quality control is not there. So like you don't know what you're injecting. There could be all kinds of
it's a little bit sketchy.
Garbage in there.
Yeah. So how do we as consumers identify, and where do we go?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend any particular peptide purveyors just because I don't know. That's not really what we invest in. We tend to invest in stuff that goes down the traditional regulatory path.
Of course.
Not because I think the regulatory path is cool. I think it's got a lot of problems. I'm all for regulatory experimentation and freedom, medical freedom in different jurisdictions, whether it's UAE or it's Prospera in the Caribbean, or that's a whole another topic that I think is really exciting. This network state movement, the charter cities movement, startup cities movement, Edge City, Prospera, all of that. I've gone to those. Those are tremendous. We love them. But I know a lot of friends who have gotten benefit from these peptides. There's been a lot of clinical research on some of these peptides. You mentioned BPC 157.
Yeah.
This people seem to like. It's naturally produced in the gut. It apparently restores gut barrier function. It enhances tissue repair. A lot of athletes take it. A lot of athletes take the stem cells. So like all of that stuff is cool. But we need to wait until there is a company that has what's going to be developed as a medical product through the standard regulatory pathway, clinical trials, quality control manufacturing to prove to the world and to regulators and insurance to reimburse it that it's actually working as promised, right? For all of the bad things about the regulatory machine, slowing things down, etc., it is kind of nice to have that stamp of approval and a standardization of the kind of clinical trials you need to do for people to believe it.
Yeah.
There are better ways to do it, like with right to try laws and medical freedom exemptions, like various states in the United States are basically allowing you to, if you and your doctor want to try some experimental therapy, you can take it. In some states, you have to have like a terminal illness. In some states, you don't. It just needs to be through phase 1 clinical trial.
Right.
So I think there's a liberalization wave. Okay. This is one of the coolest trends going on in the West, is just a little bit more freedom, allowing people who are highly informed, especially if you have ChatGPT.
Right.
You know, like I went to see my doctor for a checkup a couple months ago. Great doctor, super smart guy. And he's there talking to me.
He didn't reference ChatGPT for your results.
Right in front of me too. He wasn't like trying to hide it. He was like, oh, you want to try a new sleeping medication? Yeah, there's this new cool one. Like, and he pulls up ChatGPT. I'm like, hell yes, because I don't want a doctor who doesn't use AI.
Yes,
you know, I want a doctor who's like really at the cutting edge. And so many doctors, they admit, by the time we finish medical school, all of the shit we learned is obsolete, right? So I was like, hell yeah, with that.
I saw this meme the other day to just encourage all of us to stay healthy because your next surgeon graduated using ChatGPT.
Totally. Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. And also like, you know, like the doctor that got a C in medical school and went to the like Caribbean fake medical school, whatever. Yeah, maybe they're not fake. Sorry if I offended anybody. The Caribbean medical schools are perfectly normal, perfectly real. They're not a fairy tale. They exist. You know, these people are your doctors too, right? Unless you actively search out the best of the best doctors in the world, you know, in Switzerland, Singapore, you're going with, you know, whoever your like, you know, National Health Service gave you. So anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Well, I'm definitely coming to you next time I need to see a doctor.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you about like the stuff that's available in 20 years. I can't tell you that much about what to do if you have like, you know, big foot pain disease today. Yeah. You know, if your big toe is hurting today, I would be just as good as GPT. Yeah, exactly. I just play one on TV. I'm a failed scientist. I dropped out to do biotech. Anyway, so yeah, so the peptides, very cool, very promising. Stem cells, peptides, gene therapy. This is the kind of stuff we're really interested in. We also invested in this company called the Enhanced Games. So you might have heard about it.
Them, of course, yeah. That's really cool.
It's famous because Peter Thiel invested, Brunemeier, a bunch of prominent people. Eric Trump invested. And the basic premise is we kind of invested on a lark. We thought, okay, it's kind of a cool idea for like the theme of human enhancement.
Yes.
You know, what would the Olympics look like if you let the contestants, athletes, use whatever kind of doping they want?
Right.
And not all the doping is bad for you. It's just performance enhancing, like stem cells, right? Or
BPC.
Peptides. Yeah.
That's also used in, that's considered doping.
Exactly. Epitalon is considered doping.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it promotes tissue repair and at a unreasonably speedy rate.
For sure. And so like all of these like thick-necked meathead exercise bros, like the gym bros, right? I clearly don't even know the literature because I have like no muscle, but these guys are great because they're guinea pigs on themselves. Like having too high testosterone, which I have, by the way, it's 1050, just for the record, so everyone knows it's 1050, top 1%.
That's why
no
you
big
had
deal.
the soya drink just now.
Yeah, I had to drink the soy milk to feminize myself, exactly.
Too much.
To just like bring it down to like a human, like normie level so it can relate to the rest of you, normal testosterone peasants. But the cool thing about these bodybuilders is they're willing to be guinea pigs on themselves, right? Like the kind of steroids they're doing, like trenbolone, so bad for you that, you know, the wildest shit that we would consider as biohackers, they're like, this is like a vitamin gummy to me, you know? So these guys, they're testing all this stuff on themselves, and the athletes too, they have a strong incentive to really figure out what works. So I think we will learn a lot through their experimentation, but it's kind of an entertaining thing.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for walking us through some of the most exciting companies in your portfolio.
For sure.
Are you looking at new ones without necessarily naming them? What are you most excited about?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're looking at companies constantly, you know, maybe 10 a week or something we get inbound. It's very exciting. Should plug Longevity Biotech and make some reels out of this for the socials because no one has the attention span for full podcasts anymore, myself included. Why is Longevity Biotech? Why is Long Bio the future of medicine? Why have I dedicated my career and life to Longevity Biotech, Long Bio? Modern medicine is in a little bit of a pickle, not doing so great. There's a phenomenon in pharma called Eroom's law, E-R-O-O-M, and it is the inverse of Moore's law. So Gordon Moore, Intel, semiconductor processing power doubles every 18 months, or at least it used to. That's an exponential cost decline, getting exponentially better. We have the opposite of that, hence backwards Eroom, because it's getting exponentially more expensive over the last few decades to get a new drug approved by the pharmaceutical industry. 100%. Why? It's weird because all of the technologies that go into drug discovery are getting exponentially better. Genome sequencing, proteomics, metabolomics, high throughput drug discovery, large scale data sets, you know, all the inputs are getting better.
It's true.
So where did it go wrong? And one of my friends and one of our advisors and portfolio company founders, Jack Scannell, has written about this. He coined the term Eroom's law. He was at BCG at the time. And he basically broke down some of the mechanisms that are causing this sort of existential crisis in pharma, Eroom's law. And I won't go into details, it's pretty technical. It kind of breaks down to the animal models of disease, you know, the mouse models of Alzheimer's or cancer that we test these drugs on are fake and contrived, and they don't reflect the human disease. So we can cure the cancer model or the Alzheimer's contrived model in the mice, but it doesn't work in humans because the engineering we did to the mice, the conditions that create the disease in the mice, is not what's causing the pathology in the humans, right? That's a big part of it. He calls that model validity. Another part is pharmaceutical industry got sort of fat and happy. It got too cartelized. There are only really 20 big pharmas that matter. And so they don't need to try that hard anymore, right? There are all kinds of other dynamics coming into it. So how do we solve Eroom's law, this existential crisis in pharma of exponentially declining productivity, R&D productivity? I would suggest that Longevity Biotech has at least a partial solution, which is we stop developing drugs for symptoms, like most pharmas work for, and for late-stage pathology. You know, you show up to your GP when you already have cancer, right? Or heart disease, your occluded artery. And we start focus on prevention, preventative medicine. And given that aging is the number one risk factor that drives most disease, we should be slowing and reversing the aging process. It's been done in animals, in the lab, hundreds of labs all over the world for decades. We can extend their lifespan up to about 1/3, no side effects. Gene therapy, cell therapy, pills, stuff like that.
This makes so much more sense.
And so we treat the root cause of disease, and that will probably help a lot with the drugs not working very well. And every longevity drug has to apply to many different age-related diseases, almost by definition. If you get the drug approved for cancer or for heart disease initially, if it's a real bona fide longevity drug, it's going to slow aging across the board and prevent or treat all the other age-related disease, Alzheimer's, et cetera.
Yeah.
So right now we have this whack-a-mole approach.
Yeah.
You're getting old, you get cancer, maybe you cure the cancer, like with a cell therapy. Cool. But a couple years later, cardiovascular disease is going to hit, or Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And this is something that is so important that most people don't know. In the demography, even if we cured cancer, all kinds of cancer, tomorrow, completely cured, on a population level, it would only extend population lifespan by like 2 or 3 years, okay? Because aging is an exponential risk function, and something else would get us after that, cardiovascular disease.
Totally.
So the only way to buy more time and extend healthy lifespan, massively improving the economy, economic output, saving money on medical costs, saving the pension system, would be dealing with the silver tsunami, we call it, global demographic aging crisis, would be to slow aging itself.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, it's been done in animals many times, many different interventions, therapies that can be combined for synergy.
Great. What I'm hearing is we have to move from a prescription model, which is the current state, to a future state where it's all about prevention.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Thank you for the work that you're doing.
God bless.
Great.
God bless. Yeah.
All right, Sebastian. Well, I've known you for a while. Please tell the world how you ended up in this world of longevity.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in the US. I thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. And then I realized that the drugs don't work that well. The medical system is broken globally, but particularly in the US. And I was more interested in science. So I ended up doing lab research on biology of aging, sirtuins, stuff like that. Worked at a bunch of different research institutes. Did a Fulbright on telomere biology. Did my master's in Netherlands on neuroscience, brain aging, and biotech business management. And then I was in the PhD program at Oxford on the biochemistry of aging. And I paused that to co-found a company called Cambrian that ended up being fairly successful so far. Clinical stage company, raised significant amount of money.
Tell us more about that.
Sure. Cambrian, it's a multi-asset longevity company.
Okay.
You got a couple drugs in the pipeline, one that is AMP kinase activator that basically causes fat loss without muscle loss, a pill. And the other is a rapamycin analog that was initially developed by Novartis, the big pharma that we're carrying forward, and then a handful of other programs in the pipeline. Before that, I founded a company in Oxford, England during my PhD that is working on autophagy. So it's called Samsara Therapeutics.
Yeah.
So autophagy is when you know, a lot of the benefits of fasting derive from this process of autophagy, Greek for self-eating. The cells break down their internal components and recycle them. So this is one of the reasons why fasting is so good for you. But it's hard to fast. So what if we had a pill where we get the benefits, right? You have your cake and eat it too. A lot of people not capable of fasting, maybe you have a disease or whatever, you can't just fast. So anyway, that drug, we have a couple assets in the pipeline. The lead program is for neurodegeneration, brain aging diseases. Before that, I was one of the first employees at Apollo Health Ventures, which is today the largest aging-focused venture fund in the world. It's about $300 million under management, company builder based in Germany and the US. And then I later co-founded a angel fund called Healthspan Capital. We invested in longevity regenerative medicine with 2 partners. And today I help lead a venture fund called Long Game Ventures. We're a new fund. We're investing in longevity biotech, long bio, radical biotech, what we call frontier biotech, human enhancement, just the most exciting biotech, revolutionary technologies that we can find.
Awesome. And why is it personally for you? Is there a story there? is it purely academic?
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, I had some interactions with the healthcare system. My dad's side of the family, they're all medical people, doctors and nurses. So I was kind of familiar with it. Um, but a lot of it I'd attribute to Aubrey de Grey, who's sort of a mentor of mine. He's the guy with the long beard who popularized the modern longevity biotech movement, right? He wrote this book called Ending Aging.
Yeah.
He came up with this great framework, and one of the things that kind of got me going in the path was a grant that I got from his research foundation.
Wow.
It was
Wonderful.
Peter Thiel's money ultimately that allowed me to work in the Buck Institute for a research program.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, that kind of inspired me, his book, his TED Talk, and then book. Yeah, and then just since I've been in the field, I'm kind of spoiled for any other topic. Like,
Totally.
I haven't encountered anything that is as exciting and as impactful.
And meaningful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how rich you get or whatever. If you don't have your health, you have nothing, right?
Right.
And
Health is more than wealth.
yes, for sure. And so if, there's a joke that I tell, which is there are only three things that money can't buy, at least three main things. Like, imagine you're a billionaire, right? Which you will be one day soon if you're not already. I haven't seen your tax returns. Show us the tax returns. One is true love, of course. The richer you get, the harder it is to know who loves you, right? And you just can't buy it. The Beatles wrote about that. Can't buy me love, right? So there's that. I don't have a solution for that. The second is sovereign state protection. So let's say you're a wealthy business person, successful from a certain country that doesn't respect property rights.
Yeah.
You become politically targeted. You get shut down. Maybe you get disappeared by your government, or you manage to get out, but your bank accounts are still in that currency, or all your assets are owned in that currency or owned in that system. So you need sovereign state protection.
True.
You need another state, and credit goes to Balaji Srinivasan, who kind of gave me this analogy, which is like, there's this movie called Pacific Rim. It was really apparently dumb movie. I never saw it, but you basically have these huge mecha, like monster robots fighting aliens or fighting, Godzilla. Imagine like Godzilla versus some like mechanic. I don't know. But you need these big, huge, giant entities to interface with each other.
Yeah.
Because even the most powerful billionaire, Elon Musk, for example, if he lived in another country that was authoritarian, it could all be taken from him like that, right?
Yeah.
Still might happen in the US one day. So you need sovereign state protection. That's number two.
How do you solve for that?
You need a friendly state, or you need a network state, like a charter city that has payment rails, security rails. You can always still be assassinated by, the intelligence service of your unfriendly government, but
Can you start your own country on an island?
there are people working on that. Yeah, you wouldn't want to start your own because it's not that fun,
Right.
Billionaires try that. They're like, I'm going to buy an island, but you're just lonely. There's nothing going on there, right? So you want to be in society, right? We live in a society, so you want to be in it. But there are projects like this, and just countries that respect rule of law, property rights, due process, courts. Like, why is Switzerland so popular, or Singapore? Because people trust the court system. They know that their property is not just going to be stolen from them by some dictator, right?
Totally.
It's reliable. So we need to create more Singapores, more formerly Hong Kongs, more Thailand. Yeah, more Thailand. Thailand's cool, but not as organized. Beautiful place, tremendous, great coconuts. We love the coconuts. We love the Thais, but we're going to tariff them. Believe me, big tariffs on those coconuts. Switzerland,
Yeah.
Schweiz. We need more of those. So Balaji's written a book about this called The Network State. There's the whole charter cities movement. Big fan of that. Okay, but the third thing that money cannot buy currently, but we're working on it, is extended healthy lifespan and health, right? Like, let's say I'm not feeling well, my health is declining for whatever reason, and I have $1 billion. There is nowhere I can just like put that $1 billion and buy like health tokens and just upgrade my health. it's
Not
not
at the moment.
it's not an asset that you can buy.
Right.
And even if you're spending all the money on, you know, the most famous yoga teacher or the most, you know, greatest Brian Johnson type prepared meals and everything's dialed in, that will probably only get you 10 to 20% lifespan extension, because in the mice, when we do that, it maxes out at that level with the perfect diet and lifestyle. So that's why we need to go a step further. We need to do frontier bio. We need to do gene and cell therapy, embryo selection, eventually cloning, and any other kind of sci-fi stuff that is close enough to reality that we will benefit from in the near future.
I guess the only thing we have to solve for now is just true love.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You know, I like what you're saying because it really personally resonates.
Just resonates.
Just
yeah.
registers.
Namaste.
Nervous
Namaste. Yes.
Thank you for seeing me. Health is such a personal topic to a lot of people. And for me, my journey actually came from a place where it was a very vulnerable place. I almost lost someone I really love to a life-threatening disease. And in that process, in my search for the solution, I wanted to, dive into longevity, and I was given the opportunity to, because prior to that, I was in sustainable investing. And, you know, you're dealing with tens or hundreds of billions of dollars in the hedge fund industry, in the private equity industry. But as you said, money cannot buy health. And it just so turns out that in longevity, it is actually possible. So just that sheer hope that it is possible gave me hope that I would save someone I love. And thankfully, you know, he is still with us today. So it's been a really rewarding journey in that sense, because I am surrounded, and I'm so privileged to be surrounded by people like yourself in the longevity industry. So what began as a very selfish intention to find the solution so that I myself, suffer less from the thought and the possibility of losing someone I love, and that person suffering less also, then turned into this greater pursuit for the humanity to live longer, healthier lives, because I would hate for anybody else to experience the type of suffering I experienced watching someone I love suffer. You know, it's actually that's why I really appreciate your work. I also want to say, coming from the world of finance and capital, it don't know why. Well, I know why. Capital is not evil. Capital, when put into great projects, places, people, they are the driving forces of how our worlds can become a better place, can progress, can come into unity. So part of my mission here is really to share that message with the world, to channel the capital where it deserves and where it will best serve all of us. So yeah, thank you. Thanks again for your work.
Amen to that. Yeah, same here. Amen. Yeah, that's very heartfelt and cool. Yeah. Yeah, capital, you know, it is inert in itself. Like, you can think of capital like one of those big yellow machines they use to build stuff, you know, whatever the people who work in the real world actually do, whatever that is. That's capital, right? Like, it's installed capital base, it's working capital, it's used to do stuff. And so it's capital money, it's like potential energy. It's just like this ledger where we kind of keep track of, you know, people's contributions over time.
Totally.
But ultimately, like, it doesn't exist. Like, if we just wiped all the bank balances, like, all that would remain are like the physical world, right?
And I mean, the financial markets, in a sense, is made up, right? So how I start to think about money, then capital, is that it is a byproduct, and a ledger is actually a really good word. How it's a byproduct. It's actually not the end result. It's a byproduct of the type of impact you've created in the world, the value that you've added to the world. And as a result, you get this little ledger of scoring.
For sure.
Again, everything's relative. How do you understand the the output in a way that is absolutely measured by the current types of currency that's exchanging, that being exchanged hands in this world? It's a really, and then it gets really conceptual, and then it gets really philosophical. Yeah, but no, it's we love
money. We love money. Believe me, money. It's tremendous.
Everything.
It's tremendous. We love money. I mean, I measure everything in Dogecoin myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the ultimate unit of measurement of this universe.
Shiba
Inu coin. That's the future as well. The future of finance. Shiba Inu coin. Yes. All the dog coins.
I actually still hold some bizarre coins in my wallet from many years ago.
Hell yeah.
Bizarre.
Hang on to those. That's the future, you know? Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, how do we, in a technologically advanced society that's accumulated a ton of capital, how do we actually turn it into the stuff that we want? Like longevity, health, happiness, positive things. How do we transmute this, like, what used to be gold, inert thing that's just like a social convention? How do we turn that into real utility? How do we turn that into better lives for people? And
yeah, I guess the easy answer really is innovation.
That was what the recent Nobel Prize was on. The very recent Nobel in Economics, which is a fake Nobel Prize, by the way. It's fake. It's fake news. It's fake news. It's not a real Nobel. It was awarded in memory of Alfred Nobel, not one of the original ones, believe me. Not like the science ones, which are pure and true, like my beautiful wife, Melania. Yeah, that's basically what they pointed out, like some fancy mathematical way of saying, like, innovation's good, creative destruction's good, and it like feeds on itself, and this is why we have nice things. I don't know, I haven't read any of their work, but that was my Reddit, my TikTok interpretation of the Nobel Prize recently.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's been a really educational and nourishing conversation. And I'm excited to actually also open up our dialogues to more guests in the future so that we can continue to learn from more experts and professionals in the field. Yeah.
Amen. Rock on.